very good afternoon to all of you, and thank you so much for taking your time for this particular session. So out here we have three luminaries from the great brands. I don't think we need an introduction, but over to you, Ashish. If you could give a quick introduction about yourself, 80, and then Sumit, over to you, please.
So thanks a lot. The quick introduction I'll give in terms of a PhD, doctor in marketing, finished off very recently finished off my PhD in August. Was that right now with Narayana Health? It's one of the leading hospital chains in India, and we are present across 21 cities. And without taking much more time, Ashish, with you.
Thank you. So, name you already know. I think we share the common name. And I was wondering when I read doctor, I was like, which doctor is it? Thank you for telling.
Please don't call me at night for every.
I was about to take that number. On that note, I think as a marketer, my life sums up that my first job was to create brochures, create websites, and then create brochures that what a website is. So I used to build those brochures to give out to people about telling that what a digital, what a website is way back in 2000. My current job is I still create brochures, still create websites. I give out web address to tell people where to download a brochure. Life is a 360-degree, guys.
I think mine would be simpler. Make My Trip, GoIbibo, Redbus. I think that these are the brands you're familiar with. So I lead marketing for GoIbibo and head the marketing analytics function at Make My Trip.
All right, thank you. We can. So let me take this opportunity. No, we'll share this one. Ashish, I would like to start with you. Tell me one thing. At Narayana, we all know how the business runs. All right. Do you really see an impact where a marketing-led or a marketing-oriented approach really works out when you have to engage your say patients coming in? What I could understand from our previous conversation is that you're still on more focused online. But if you could throw some light, how do you amalgamate the online and the offline world that you coexist in?
So I'll start from the top. What happens is, as a consumer or as a patient, when you enter a hospital, the jargons that you are thrown at become so intolerable, and you don't understand them.
Yeah.
Right? There is where your marketing team enters into the picture in terms of one, making them layman friendly.
Okay.
Making them in terms of making you understand, because doctors usually don't have that kind of time in terms of making you understand each and everything. That's the first role that marketing plays in the entire healthcare as a category. Because you have to really solve for the patient to really understand what is going wrong with me. Then comes, how do you scale in terms of both offline and online words? Yes, because the delivery model is offline, which is at the units. You need to be physically present at a OT to get anything done in terms of solving for your diseases. But the amalgamation of both these, so which we call through the line, we call omni-channel, all of those fancy words, it does work out very well for hospitalizations, or say hospital as a category. Why? Because at healthcare, the personalization, the diseases that you have will be very different from the other person.
Correct.
So it makes so much more sense for any player in the hospital category to keep understanding and doing personalization at scale for all their patients, and that is where the power of online comes in, and you can do wonders for your own brand.
And you can take a conjoint approach when you have to reach a particular
Absolutely.
patient. Fantastic. 80, over to you. At Home Credit, do you really see a world where you want to go and amalgamate your online, or if there is any concept of an offline world that really exists, could you throw some light on it, please?
I mean, yeah, the entire funnel, the business funnel. My business is very simple. I give money if you can pay it back. So while I mean, yeah, it's an interesting life. When I look at life, you can actually look at.
Especially in today's time.
Yeah, in today's time, and just before this, I was in a category whereas neither the buyer nor as a seller, either one of us wanted to consume the product.
Okay.
Can you guess the category?
Please.
I used to be in life insurance. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, God, today I want to claim my insurance policy, because if you are claiming your life insurance, not claiming. Yeah. Nobody. So I have had these interesting categories, okay? In today's category, think about my category. If you need it, you won't get it. Let's be very straight about it, okay? So how do you still, if you, and we want to sell to people who don't need it. If you don't need it, and still I have to sell. Think about it. So all the entire marketing fundamentals of creating a need comes out at that point in time. You have to hit that sweet spot, whereas you will give it out to a person who might not have a latent need, realized immediately. You make that need come in front of him, and yet have purchasing power to back. Because of, I am not in a, I say it very openly, I am not in a business of giving loans, I am in a business of collections. Loans happens to be a way to collect. In that sense, the martech plays a very, very important role. Because of, you need to think about it. I am trying to, the reason why I am giving you this example is because of, at that point in time, if you have a need, then a marketer only has to create and envelop his package to serve that need. I need to first understand you to figure out whether you will pay back, which means understanding your data, creating your entire consumer 360 or 480 or whatever number you want to put around it, okay? Which is, by the way, to my life, consumer 360 is as good a myth as a unicorn is, okay? I haven't seen in my entire career. Okay? When you look at that kind of a thing, you have a progressive data getting into a business every day. The consumer is changing. What you were yesterday and today are two different people.
Starkingly different.
It is very, very starkly different, and not only that, consumer in the consumption movements is changing. Because if he or she doesn't have a latent need realized immediately.
And this
So
impacts your funnel accordingly.
it does. You have to, and that's where you have to have something called as a dynamic martech. Whereas not only think about it like that, okay? Think about it as a football field. You have a moving ball, a static field, and a static goalpost. Now make all these three dynamic.
Fantastic.
And then you have to hit the goal. That is where my life is, and it's an interesting life.
I think we all have been struggling with that. No, go ahead. So, okay. So, Sumit, over to you. Considering your entire business at Make My Trip is absolutely online, all right? Do you really feel or do you really see martech playing an important role? Over to you.
So I think one difference I can clearly see is our business is much more mature. It's been there for 2 decades, right? Where martech kind of plays a very critical role for us is, think of yourself, like all of us are consumers of these brands. What do I put out in front of, the homepage when you come and visit my site, right? Earlier desktop site, then mobile sites, and now mostly app, right? So earlier when there was only a flights business, it was different, right? So limited variables to look at. You added a hotels, you added a cabs, rails, bus, domestic hotels, domestic flights became international hotels, international flights. So I think each of these lines of businesses, your complexity, your variables kind of went up, right? And that is something which obviously the business grappled with over the last 2 decades. So for us, technology is basically understanding, and I'm starting from the point where user has already come in, but if I were to take a step back, you're obviously going out and acquiring users. What is the quality of those users? What kind of time are they spending? Are they going deeper into the funnel? Everything requires data to assess, right? So think of, from an acquisition to a retention to a, maybe a deeper loyal kind of a phase. Everything is obviously going to come out of, their, activity on the platform. What are they doing? How are they kind of spending time? What is the opportunity that I have, to kind of pitch my next product to you, right? So are you A, coming back? B, if you're coming back, what is the best proposition that I can offer you? If you're not coming back, what is the best proposition I can go to you with in an offline world, right? And make you come back, so on and so forth, right? So the opportunities would be limitless, but the idea is that obviously all of these are backed by a different technology stack, right? So right from a customer data platform to, the kind of performance channels we use to kind of, any kind of analytics that we are using, right? So, and we're talking of millions and millions of users, coming in every month, every quarter. So that's, I think, something that we kind of grapple with every day. Yeah.
Thank you. There was one common point, rather there were 2 common points in all the 3 narratives that we recently heard. One is data, and the second is personalization. Question to all three of you, all right. Do you see an importance of creation of the first party data? Do you see first party data playing a very, very important role here? And then there is a follow-up question to it. How do you build, how do you work on building that? I think the audience here would be really interested, especially on the Narayana part. How do you do this, Ashish?
Absolutely, because if you're not building the first party data, you will not know the vitals, you will not know what are the procedure, you will not know what is the recovery stage, you will not know how well I'm going to do in future, as at a disease level, at a patient level, at a person level. So it's absolutely required. We have our, of course, we have our own homegrown HIS system where we take care of all of these inputs. That what is happening. So I'll give you an example. How well versed in first party data right now we are. Uh, Usually we all know that for your ICU rounds or say your IP rounds, which is inpatient, people staying in the hospital, you have to go and physically meet. Our doctors finish their ICU rounds at home itself. So the power of the data at the app that we have for our clinicians. They see what's going on. There is a marking, there is an indexing of people who are in the red zone. That is where they go ahead and do the conversation about what needs to be done for them. And even just like how Dr. Shetty keeps saying that heart attack is never immediate. There are always clues that your body gives you, which you need to understand. So that is also the reason why the data also becomes important for you to keep saying that, so that the patient doesn't go into any kind of emergencies. So for us, I think for healthcare, you can't live without it. Your business will not run without it. If it is not at a first party level, if it is not developed right and filtered right for you to see and make an action.
Okay, just another question to this, going a little bit deeper into this, Ashish. So when you say you build your first party data, when you're going deeper into your patient, all right, considering, say for example, a person like me walks into your one of your chains, one of your hospital, how do you discern that this is Harminder or Sumit or AT who's walking into your hospital and probably has also come online on your website? How do you get this intelligence?
So everything is linked to your unique ID, which is your MRN number. So basically, it's your unique identifier. Your unique identifier are linked to either your IDs or your mobile numbers usually.
Correct.
And basis that, we have your entire history of last 7 years, 8 years to be precise. Wherever you have had come to us previously, what were the things that were done. And while you're going and meeting, say, a OPD, meeting a doctor, on their EMR portals, which is your basically where entire prescription of the doctor sits, it goes back to them in terms of, oh, now Ashish has come, he had come to you or come to this problem 7 years back. This was the diagnosis. This is what has happened with him. And just seen to the clinicians, because for us, the delivery happens from there. So if you're not enabling them, your delivery will not happen, your care of personalization will not happen.
Great. And do we look forward to some sort of a mobile app coming from Narayana for this?
So there is already an app, but it is used by clinicians. So it is only for our doctors.
Okay.
Okay, I do have it right now because I have the access. I keep looking at it.
Okay.
You can see how many patients are going through what ICU, what stages, what departments, what are the cases that they are working on. So you have all of that information with the doctor on the palms.
Okay. And on the consumer part, are you looking at coming on a app, say for example, or do you even see a value coming to the app way eventually?
Absolutely. So if you talk about healthcare, healthcare is a market online. You have almost 20 billion searches happening every year, and I'm talking about domestic India only. Okay, that's the kind of searches, that kind of people are trying to know what is there in terms of healthcare delivery.
Okay.
So it is definitely makes sense for us. Right now, we have almost 19% of our business coming through online channels.
Beautiful.
And where the entry point for a user is online. Of course, delivery happens offline, so you can't change
correct.
that. So that is what our current stage is. And we prefer that more and more people just don't walk in. They have their appointments booked. They come, they don't wait. So that's the kind of service you can give if you have your online channels well thought through. Otherwise, we all must have gone through that. We've gone to a doctor and we have waited 2 hours.
Correct. This does happen. Absolutely.
And that is because there will be 30% of people who are just walking in. There'll be only 20% of the people who have just done a OPD booking or booked online already before coming, and the rest are the cross referrals within the ecosystem.
Okay.
So that is why we have to wait 2 hours. That's a change that you can do, because if you have the power of technology with you and you map your booking interfaces with them well,
Okay.
you can definitely change that experience for the patient.
Beautiful. So you're making your systems more intelligent per se. So even a patient before walks in, you know that, okay, these could be the probable reference points that we should look at for this particular user.
Absolutely.
Correct?
So take 30 minutes when you enter, say, a doctor's chamber, 10 minutes wait time, 20 minutes discussion time, you should be out.
Superb. To you, 80, your entire world roams around being online. Do you really see a benefit of having a first-party data? And if yes, how do you leverage it to your strength?
I mean, my entire business runs on first-party data. Think
Correct.
about it. I process almost like some 26,000 applications per day.
My goodness.
Okay? And when you look at the number, it doesn't look too astounding till the time you don't think that, okay, most of the business happens from, say, about 4 p.m. till about 8:30.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So I have two businesses. One is a POS business. So when you enter any mobile outlet or a HA outlet,
Correct.
when you go through a financing scheme, when they say, oh, you want a fridge, no problem, it is available on 0% EMI. It's home credit which is powering that 0%. Anybody of you who have taken a loan would know that they even ask you the size of your kidneys. Yeah? I mean, if you have taken a loan, you know that, I mean, in an MBA thesis or probably in PhD, you might have written more papers. But in loan document, you sign like some 86 different places you sign. And by the time the first signature to the last does not match to each other.
Which is true.
We give out loan, and this is loan not for a couple of $1,000. Our loan runs from 10,000 to 5 lakh, 10 lakhs, okay? On 2 documents, which is like a PAN number and an Aadhaar number, okay? The decision is made in less than 30 seconds.
Beautiful.
So you put that the entire application journey is for less than 5 minutes. And by the time you're filling your journey, we are picking this data, picking device data, matching it with the third party, enriching it with the government sources, building your profile, and validating and taking a decision and disbursing. Because of the shop owner who is giving you the commodity, is giving basis the confirmation, he needs to have
coming.
that
Correct.
money immediately coming in.
Correct.
The entire cycle ends less than 10 minutes.
My goodness.
Okay.
Wow.
So, I mean, I can't live. And think about it. Now I've given you money. The interesting part starts after that I can't come to you and say you have taken loan, but still I have to remind you that you have to pay back.
You have to pay back.
And not only that, I have to remind you, and at a suitable point in time, I have to tell you that you can aspire more.
Okay. Okay.
Okay? Because if I need to give those aspirations, at the end of the day, that's where cross-sell works.
I was about to ask that.
Yeah,
Correct.
my more than 60% business is through cross-sell.
Correct.
Okay, whereas I need to keep nudging you. Okay, you have paid this much, this is free. You have taken a fridge 3 years back or a mobile a year back. Now it's time to take a LED, then blah, blah, XYZ.
Correct.
And that's where the more data you enrich. And in my case, the reason why I use the word about a moving goalpost, moving field, is because of money and capacity to purchase is one of the most dynamic property in human being.
Absolutely.
It changes with anything happening in your life will impact your earning capability, your consumption. You were single as a bachelor, you got married. Suddenly, in one day, your entire financial position changed.
Changes overnight.
You change the job, your financial position change. You got a kid, financial position change. Somebody fell sick in the house, impact on financial position. And I have to keep building this database
Correct.
all the time. So, I mean, you really can't operate. At the end of the day, we operate more than almost like a 600 billion loan book.
Wow.
You really, really can't have that kind of a loan book sitting out there.
That is exorbitant amount.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like that. I wish. I mean, I won't be getting my salary if I don't be collecting back. Trust you me.
Great, great. Taking you to this question to Sumit. Sumit, I think first party plays a very, very important role for you at MMT and at GoAvibo specifically. Could you throw a little bit more light?
I think I'll take it up from, what he also said,
Yeah.
in terms of the changing in the life stages, right? In our case, it's the same guy during maybe the same quarter or the half year doing different kind of searches, right? He could be doing a business travel on let's say, week 1, could be planning a summer vacation in week 3 with the entire family, could be doing a boys trip maybe later in the year, right? So I think he kind of rightly nailed it on its head. The variability is that football field example is perfect. It is immense, right? You can't just simply box, and I'll give you one context of a categorization that our customer lifecycle management team had done maybe 2-3 years back. Yeah. We kind of compartmentalized all the base, I think, into around 13 boxes, right? So we said, okay, hey, there is a there's a premium loyalist who does this, there is an international booker who does this, and so on and so forth, right? Today that's irrelevant. How do you do that? And that's one of the conversations I'm having with my head of analytics, right? How do you now make it real time? How do you kind of consume that last search that he did 2 minutes back, right? How do you interpret the kind of variables that he had put in, right? And eventually come up with models that can really empower what we're going to deliver to that guy, right? Whether it's on the platform, off the platform.
Off the platform, correct.
So I think just to add to this one, the complexity is obviously immense, but thanks to technology, there are ways, right? And I don't want to throw jargons here, but thanks to data science or artificial intelligence models, you can actually now get into, if you define your problem well, there are
solutions and there are ways to nudge your consumer in multiple ways. Fantastic. This takes me to a very important aspect, personalization, all right? For all the three varied businesses that we see here, your consumer footfall is exorbitantly high. One probably is more, event-oriented, particularly in your case. Ashish, same goes for you, AT, and same goes for you, Sumit at Make My Trip. If you could throw some light for the audience here, what does personalization mean, say, for example, at Narayana, at Home Credit, at Make My Trip, and how do you, leverage the power of that? How do you go and engage your consumer at the right time, at the right point of the year, of the month, of the day? How do you come to this, at this conclusion? How do you get that intelligence?
Okay. So, okay.
Go ahead.
So if you look at, it's a classic marketing question. And that's where I think at times we need to dissect. See, tech is an enabler.
Correct.
The classic marketing 101 hasn't changed. Okay. Your touch points or your movement of truth for consumers still remains same. No technology ever says that it can't be done.
Can't be done.
It's only about what is your use case in your mind.
Correct.
Okay, so for example, in my life, okay, M0, which is moment of truth 0, when somebody is not even thinking about taking a loan.
Correct.
My entire personalization is, if picking up different data cues, reaching out to audience through various technologies, whether it is through a lookalike, through a display, through whatever, creating a latent need. So if you are, for example, a very, very simple data set, you are using a Xiaomi phone less than 10,000 bucks, okay, on a XYZ browser. I will come back, I will reach out and say, hey, Sham, busy clicking pictures, not getting enough likes, why don't you look at a better camera? We are there to power you. Create latent need out there. It has to be, see, personalization, whichever industry you take, I keep saying it again and again, it is not n to the power 1, it is n to the power 1 in that moment.
Particular moment, correct.
You are not the same person on Flipkart, on Facebook, what you are on Tinder. You are very, very two different people. Yeah. See how many people relate to it.
Very quickly, I must say that.
Yeah. I mean, you are two different people altogether.
I know.
And if I talk to the one person, I would certainly miss out on another. So one is about being able to identify, and classic 101 is about knowing your consumer, what he was mentioning a while back. Yeah. It's about knowing your persona. For example, I have more than 100 personas built.
Wow.
And these are changing, I mean,
on a day-to-day basis.
They are changing almost day to day.
Correct.
I feel separated at times because of, by the time I will read Sumit, I will create conversation, And the moment you start analyzing the data set which is coming back, you realize that Sumit has changed. He has.
I agree.
I mean,
Absolutely.
think about it. I was trying to nudge him for a phone. He bought a phone.
Correct. Now what?
Now what? Now he's not the same guy.
Correct.
Now he's clicking better pictures. What do I aspire him with? So you need to think from that perspective. The technology stacks are available.
Correct.
And no one technology stack will solve everything.
Is enough. I agree.
Okay?
Absolutely.
A lot of times we get mesmerized by these tools. It's like getting mesmerized over a car without knowing a driving. You can have the best car in the world in your hand.
Correct.
If you don't know the driving, it won't help. You can have a Ferrari, put it into Gurgaon, a biker will beat you left, right, center, because by the time you will zoom in, there will come a speed bumper. And you will be hanging on that. And this guy, probably a cyclist, will pass through.
You'll pass through.
You need to know which tool to use, where to use, and that's where the man and machine combination plays very, very important role in a martech scenario.
Bang on. Bang on. Over to you, Ashish. Thank you. Thank you, AT. Yeah.
So, AT, for hospital as a category, your marketing 101 fund does just go out the window. Why? Because while you're spending money, you're not looking for an experience, and at the end of the day, you're also not looking at having any kind of happiness while you're paying that money. So all of your one-on-ones just go for a toss, right?
You can't go back to people and say, wish you have a heart attack this Holi.
Correct. And and of course, nobody will say
Very
that.
difficult
in the
to create the
hospital
latent
category.
need that you were speaking of.
Absolutely right. So from there generates the need of personalization. There is no other way that you can actually bring into the fold of increasing your patient base. You can't increase that. There
It's
are
a very
10 to
difficult
12 million
business. Correct.
patients in India looking for private healthcare every year.
I agree.
Just remove the rest which is into government or subsidized.
Correct.
That's your pool. Whereas there are 100 million health laggards, people like me. I will not change my habit.
Correct.
I will keep eating junk. I'll keep doing nothing in terms of doing something which is health oriented until and unless I get a shock. Right? So those are 100 million pool bases. How do you join these two and look for what you can find it as a patient? So that can only be done through personalization, and there is no other way.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Over to you, Sumit.
I think what we were discussing earlier was also on the lines of personalization. So I'll not repeat the same, but I think the fundamentals, like AT was saying, they still are true to this category as well. There is obviously a category which is looking to do that, while there's a latent need, and I think we all have seen the revenge travel, which has happened over the last couple of years, right? And I think it's also something to an extent, like, in your case, you're not talking about giving a loan, you're talking about fulfilling an aspiration, right? Same as with travel, right? So that aspiration is something which is very, very inherent. So how do you kind of talk about that? And most of our communication, most of our stuff which goes out on social kind of, talks about this aspiration mindset that you have, right? And any campaign that we do, we are trying to talk to that mindset so that eventually, you kind of end up consuming that product, right? Because otherwise, if you were to talk about, the remaining side of the journey, we are mostly talking about deals. What else do you expect from an OTA, right? So largely, I think it's a marriage of these two pieces, right? Whereas one, I get you to the bottom of the funnel, and then at the bottom, how do I convert you?
Correct. Considering your competitive space already, you have so much competition coming.
And everybody's saying the same thing.
I know. How do you go and grab that essence of a consumer? That you know what, we can offer you better.
Yeah.
I can offer you better travel. I can offer
Correct,
you better space to stay.
No, and I'll give you an example of this one, right? So for example, cross-sell is a huge opportunity for us as a business, and somebody, who's booking a flight on a thing, we started kind of giving a provisional cab, airport cab booking for them, right? It's got a great response, right? It's not that we kind of bought cabs and put it on the airport. It was already there, right? We've just kind of tied in the journey, right? Connected the dots and personalized the thing for you, that once you've landed onto a Delhi or a Mumbai airport, here is a provisional booking. And people love it.
Part of the
Entire value chain, right? So immediately once you land, if you get a message that here is a cab which is waiting for you, you can go out and avail that. That's customer delight, right? So that's, I think, is where personalization backed with obviously technology, but understanding of what the need is where I think the play is.
Great.
So when we do the same thing today, flight from Pune
thank you for backing my claim.
No, this takes me to another and the last question for the day, for this panel. Do you think we are living in a very retention-led market at this moment? Yes, no? Anybody wants to take this? I have another follow-up, but that's it.
Yes, but at large for industries, if you look at where we are as a healthcare industry, it is, well, you really don't want that strategy to be your first mover strategy.
I can understand.
And as a brand, you really don't want that people to fall sick again and again. So
At
yeah.
least for your space, no. But what about
Definitely
you, 80?
See, in my space, you have to create a mix of
Okay.
both. Because of, try and understand, if a person is taking loan again and again and again and again to fulfill everything, which means at some point in time, the default propensity is very high.
Is higher.
Okay? So you want to cross-sell, but up to a level only. It's like, so you have to keep your mixer, your fresh water falling in, and you have to have some bit of a old churn happening so that you can create a right mix of
You
that
can keep a
value
right
coming
mix.
in. Yeah.
Ashish, it's like now I've taken nine loans. I'll not talk to you again. It's that point of
I probably won't give you 9. Also, try and understand, it's a very vanilla product. Okay? For the sheer curiosity and impulse, people change brands. Because at the end of the day, interest rate is a hygiene.
Absolutely.
Am I right? The money is going to get credited into your account only. It's only about a journey. How easy is the acquisition and repayment journey? How much the brand understands me? How do the brand resonates with what I want to do?
Correct.
Okay, and that's where the entire game is
Perfect.
of the marketer. And I think that's where we create value to be able to answer your question. But yes, 100% retention won't work.
Won't work.
100% new acquisition is very, very costly.
Correct.
Yeah, so you need to
So how do you balance
Acquire-
that CAC versus your, your
Precisely.
retention led? Over to you, Sumit.
Same. I think same for us. I think for us it's even more critical, to kind of retain the user, right? We do want the user to book us maybe 10 times a year, right? So, and maybe multiple businesses. So in our case, I think it's, and like, you just touched upon it, it's a growth model, right? So you have your new user funnel coming in, you want them to repeat, you want the business depth to kind of increase, the business repeat rate to increase, and then eventually get them to refer as well, right? So I think
Absolutely.
all of these are critical for us. All of these are specific, use cases, programs
Metrics that
for
you would
us,
want to
right?
follow.
So all of them are, at
Absolutely.
play for us.
Great. Yes, Ashish.
Just want to add one last thing. Healthcare globally and India also, 80% of your patients are repeat.
Okay.
So even if you don't want to build a retention strategy, it's a habit already. So for every doctor, or say for the patient base which doctor generates for themselves, your 80% patient base is always repeat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, thank you so much, Ashish, Eti, and Sumit. It was great having you for this panel, and thank you to the wonderful audience. Thank you so much.